all of you here. And I am just honored to be up here with our Executive Vice President, Bob Nelson, of one of our premier companies in Ohio, Honda. So we're here to talk about all of our number one issue, workforce. Before we get started, though, Bob, I'd love to hear, I think our audience would love to hear just a little bit more about the Honda of today and the Honda of tomorrow. It was shocking for me to hear that they've been here for 41 years. So share with us a little bit about Honda of today.
Yeah, thank you. Let me explain a little bit about history first. We began production in Marysville, Ohio in 1979 with motorcycle production. And barely getting units off the line, we decided to begin auto production. And so we started auto production in Marysville in 1982. So that's how it started. Today, we have over $14 billion of capital investment. I'm talking about in Ohio. And 14,000 associates over 5 different plants where we're making, we have 3 frame lines, and we have very, very large engine manufacturing and ANA and transmission. And then beyond that, we have auto production in Alabama, auto production in Indiana, we have Canada, we have Mexico, auto production, as well as power sports, power equipment, and still, I never would have dreamed this, but we make a Honda Jet. All of those are in the Carolinas. Now, we sit here today as the largest combustible engine maker. Everybody knows we're going to electrification. So we have a big transformation ahead of us.
Thanks. I think that's just remarkable. So as we talk about workforce, I know that Mike Kaufman, who couldn't be here, Cardinal has recently introduced a comprehensive DEI strategy, really believing that will drive innovation and long-term growth for the company. And I know that's also very important to Honda, Bob. So I was wondering if you can share with us, how and why this rose to the top of your priority list.
Yeah, let me say that we have a strong philosophy in our company, one that we train the new associates on, one that we measure ourselves on, and one that we work to carry out. We have strong core values and beliefs that we work within, and initiative, equality, and mutual trust, respect for the individual, all are a part of that. Our founders didn't talk about inclusion or in terms of using that word, but the philosophy supports that and drives our behaviors. So it starts with that. You come in the doors, the training takes place, what we believe in, and then inside our organization is about supporting that and developing that. I do need to step back that we had a large organization change to help us prepare for the future, including electrification, where all of these plants that I mentioned before were previously one company. And now we are one company in total. So we started, just to give you an example of some of the activities, we started business resource groups about 10 years ago, and we had a very organic growth to those business resource groups. So now we're combining amongst all the companies, and we call it our BRG 2.0. And really what we're trying to enhance is the ability to structure, with formality, give those business resource groups a stronger participation in the business. Always we have been listening and reacting and supporting and learning from those business resource groups, but that's an area that we are trying to take to the next level so that we can get all the necessary input. The other thing I want to mention is we have a very consensus-based management style. So because of that, inclusion and diversity is core to how we make decisions. It could be a very small decision or it could be a very big decision. But because we're discussing and debating to get consensus, that's how we are using that powerful voice that we have in our company. And the last thing I want to say is we've been supporting financially as well as student engagement and trying to recruit as well and with success the HBCUs for actually 30 years now. We have a strong program with them. So it started early and we're continuing to build upon that.
Thank you. I know as Crane Group, a slightly smaller company, but over the past 2 years with our strategic planning, we have really completely changed over our philosophy of how we recruit, where we recruit, and then with even the new generations, all of our ads have to be mobile friendly to get those Gen Zs on board. But every element of our continuum of the talent pipeline is critically important of widening that to ensure we have diverse candidates all the way through that recruiting process, how we interview, the words, the language we use during our interviews, our onboarding process, and even retention with mentors and sponsors. So it's dramatically changed, and it certainly has for you. I know another area, Bob, that's been critically important is really building the awareness of manufacturing as a career. And I know that you've worked with the state in initiatives and worked with schools. And I think that with Intel coming, it has helped heighten really the coolness of being in manufacturing and walking away from what some people used to think of what manufacturing was in the past to really what it is at Honda and today. And so could you share a little bit about that strategy?
Yeah. First of all, I want to say in the 40 years, there were decades where we felt like an employer of choice. So it wasn't as difficult, certainly, as it is today. We believe that in some cases we have to show students what is manufacturing in today's environment. In some cases, we have to convince their parents what is manufacturing. So we'd like to promote this as much as we can. And we do this through numerous ways. We have a manufacturing day where we bring in students. We have open houses where the community comes in. And these are ways that we can show them how wonderful the manufacturing environment actually is. It's not as some perceive it. In today's environment, we have to, we're competing with all of you and everybody else to get the best talent. So we partner with the schools. We provide them materials that they can use, videos. We make manufacturing games. We have STEM summer camps. We're doing a lot of different things deeper into the school systems. It's not just the universities, but it's not just the high schools, but it's now the middle schools where we're reaching in and trying to show them what the environment is. We have partnered with NAM, National Association of Manufacturers, and they kicked off a tour where they have a mobile unit where they travel around. By the way, it was kicked off right here in Columbus, but they travel the country to help share the story.
So speaking of partnerships, I know that you pioneered another partnership, and I think David Harrison is in the room. I'm not sure. There he is. So talk about the unique partnership that you really pioneered with Columbus State, 'cause I think that could really offer up a really interesting insight for our business owners here.
Yeah. So what happened was when we started 40 years ago, we had a lot of retention. So we had a lot of retirements coming. So in around 2014, 2015, we began developing programs ahead of those retirements so that we would be able to backfill those retirees with good talent and skill. So we're very proud of this, and hopefully Columbus State is as well. But we went to them and collaborated with them in a partnership to develop an Earn and Learn program where the students will work several days and go to school several days. You know, this obviously is a good program for them so they can pay for their schooling and it's not only learn in the classroom, but learn in the job. And so that program has really grown both for us as well as Columbus State, where now there's 25 manufacturers that participate in this program. And even expanding that to IT, which we're getting in line for that as well. And it's not an automatic, but we do have about 73% conversion rate to permanent associate, and the retention rate is over 90%. So this has really been a program that's been really valuable for us.
Well, I think it's a win-win. I mean, clearly, for the students coming out of high schools and students coming, getting their associate degrees are going on, to know that there's an opportunity ahead of them and that to actually be able to experience that and then decide whether that is for them or not. And I think that what you've done, Honda, has really then inspired other companies to start this Earn and Learn program. So really a lot of gratitude to Honda on that. So in thinking about this talent strategy, have you been able to quantify all these efforts that you're putting into it, if it's working?
Yeah, I mean, we look at it in every segment. Like the program I just talked about, we measure how many we get, plan versus actual. There's a lot of different ways we're measuring with retention and high potential retention and those sort of things. I do want to mention that, these partnerships, some things you just can't put a dollar value on. And we know that getting these folks and getting them into our organization, getting them skilled is going to make our product much better. And so we do have quantitative measures, but it's not always ROI based.
Absolutely. So I know coming out of the pandemic, it left an indelible mark on all of us, and clearly on our associates who have changed their work preferences. They view where they want to work, live a little bit differently, and how they want to work. Did you experience like a pivotal moment of on your own and realized that talent is going to be even more important in the future? And can you share any examples of that?
Yeah. Probably like many of you in the room, we have openings, and right now in manufacturing there's 900,000 openings, and by 2030 we expect that to be 2.3. We have been changing the way we onboard, the way we recruit. For example, when we recruit, we want them, as I mentioned before, we want them to understand what the manufacturing environment is. We recruit from all areas, not just manufacturing, but it could be retail, it could be banking, it could be whatever. And we want them to understand what the environment is and how that can be good for them. So we have changed absolutely the recruiting, the onboarding. As I mentioned before, consolidation of the company. So we've completely revamped our training and development. So we have a very strong company level, and then by category, and then role-based training, so that we can get the skills where we need them, when we need them.
Thank you. That's it. I mean, I think all of us are struggling with that talent war, and how do we stand out?
Yeah.
So for other business owners in the room, can you take us through your process for elevating talent strategy as a core component? Because all of us have a lot of important priorities, but talent, as we're all talking about today, is number one. And how do you ensure that stays that focus?
Let me just say that, in our strategies that we make a 3-year strategy every year, and we're revising and adjusting according to what's happening. But in that strategy, talent management has always been one of the core pillars of that strategy. And that's something that is throughout the organization. Those strategies, succession planning and development, are throughout the organization. And actually, this annual strategy that we make is presented to our Honda Motor Board. So talent, with everything we do, talent is at the core of what we are investing in. Now, we do have autonomy to do the things we need to do. You talked about how things are changing fast. We can't, we have to stay ahead of that. But talent management, our development, we have partnerships outside of the company that help us develop some of that talent, but most of it is internally developed based on the job responsibilities.
Yeah. I know at Crane, this has become a central issue for us, and we've now said, even though we have an HR talent department, it's every one of our responsibilities out there, recruiting and ensuring we're putting our best foot forward, and we're always looking for people out there. So I'm sure you're experiencing that as well. Yeah,
we measure it in terms of the recruiting process. We measure it in terms of the hiring. We measure it in terms of the development. And then we always say PDCA, plan, do, check, action. So we're constantly reviewing and revising the strategy based on the results that we're getting.
So we've talked about all aspects of talent. Is there anything that we're missing as we're having this discussion? Any ignored factors or that we're not talking about that you want to highlight or bring up?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned from combustible engines to electrification. So, we've got whole facilities that are going to have to be making different products. We're committed to 100% EV production by 2040. So, that's a major shift in engineering and process, skills. So, I think this is the most major transformation of the auto industry since its beginning. And, we have to stay ahead of that. We have to develop our associate skills so that we can be at the forefront. Now, we're very excited about this. Don't get me wrong. This gives us an opportunity to use the strengths of what we've learned in the current manufacturing environment in the new environment.
So in terms of, as we're wrapping up here, what is a takeaway that we can offer businesses in the audience who are large and small in terms of their talent strategy? I know that we at Crane are thinking about talent very differently today than we did yesterday. And I know that for the past 2 years, we have really focused on DEI. And as I look at our workforce, the faces have changed dramatically. The diversity of thought, the diversity of age, ethnicity, gender. And we know, and I've witnessed, it's made a difference in terms of our decision making. And I know that it'll be a very different organization going forward. Well, everyone's going to be younger, so that's a given. But just in the past 2 years, I've seen a significant difference because of our investment. But it has to be from the top, all the way down, and invested in at every level of the organization. And we have all of our associates on teams working on this strategy. So I know as a takeaway from Crane Group and where we're going, it's really that absolute commitment and knowing that it will have quantifiable results and that we're already seeing it. So Bob, from your perspective, what is a takeaway from?
We do a lot internally, but I do want to emphasize the partnerships that we do have. Let me go back a little bit in our history. There's many reasons why Honda chose Ohio to establish our manufacturing headquarters. One of the draws was the Transportation Research Center. Okay, so we could initially build vehicles and test vehicles, and then when we established our development, we could develop, build, and test all within a very, very close quarters. Later in our history in the 80s, we purchased the TRC, but open for others to use for sure. So that's a partnership that has paid big dividends for us. So I want to emphasize the partnership. Just recently, we announced a $124 million world-class wind tunnel located at the TRC. So we partnership with TRC and Ohio State University to develop a consortium so that world-class aerodynamics research can take place. And that was all a dream of one of our aerodynamic designers, Annie Bow. And you know, it has come up through the organization, and it's an investment in our team, and they can do everything right here instead of traveling the world, right here in Ohio, instead of traveling the world to use other wind tunnels. And you know, partnerships, TRC, Ohio State University, those are good examples of how we're partnering in many different ways.
Well, I want to thank you, Bob. Yeah. It's just interesting to hear about Honda of today and Honda of tomorrow. We are so fortunate to have Honda in our Central Ohio community, and it represents a significantly growing part of our economy. So thank you, Bob, so much for being here to share, again, our #1 priority of talent.